higher ground. It was a complete emotional roller coaster. Our guys really, they did a great job. I mean, it was tough on everybody, especially the first 4 or 5 days out there where we had to battle through a lot of different things. But the reality is that, we got our 14, 15 days of really good work and good practice in, knowing that we were probably not going to play for 3 weeks, maybe 4, whatever it was going to be. But knew we had to get the work done, and no matter how much time we had in between the first game and that, and I'm proud of them that they really did. They got through the first 4 or 5 and kind of locked in, buckled down, and we were able to actually get back to really kind of grinding out the days of camp, especially the last 10, 11 days, the way we would normally do it.
Okay, Keith, why don't you lead us off with questions?
Oh, happy belated, Coach.
Oh, thanks.
I would love to ask a football question, but I got to start here. We've seen all this crap with kids coming back on campus and outbreaks, and now it's starting to get into the locker rooms. And what is your plan over these next several days to make sure that guys stay healthy and can get on the field September 19th?
Well, staying healthy is us continuing to monitor them. I don't, the question, the big thing is like we said when we left camp, I said, we had a challenge out here. Our challenge was to come together as a team. Our challenge was to work together as a team. Our challenge was to continue to grind, to make us better football players and a better team. Normally when you go back to campus, the challenge becomes, okay, refocusing your mind on winning a ball game and getting into the game plan. It's completely different. Our challenge, the next challenge we had was going back onto campus and doing the things we needed to do to continue to keep ourselves in good standings, meaning limiting our issues of COVID and the spread of COVID. So I'd like to tell you that we obviously spent an enormous amount of time talking about it. It's going to be a challenge. And the biggest thing I try to tell them is it's going to happen. We understand it. We're going to have issues. We're going to have cases. It doesn't mean guys are bad people because they get COVID. I could be the first one to get it. I'm going to have 6 kids that are in school and playing sports, and they're going to live in my home. The key is that we do the things we're supposed to do, whether it's testing, whether it's wearing our mask, whether it's distancing, so that we don't spread it. And we've asked them to have an honesty, so to speak, code. Not that every great family doesn't have an honesty code, but of really being honest with us when issues come up. If you're around somebody, if you went someplace, if all of a sudden things started to get out of control and you were in a bad place, that you got to be honest with us so we can get you out of the norm of what it is we're doing, and whether that means quarantining or not. But our big next step is to find a way that we don't have the bigger breaks and the bigger spreads. But we're going to have cases. We know that some way, somehow. We've done a phenomenal job through the summer and all through camp of every case being a separate case and not seeing any type of spread. And we're going to have to continue to do those things.
Coach, the question always coming out of camp is health. And COVID aside, how is the team looking coming out of camp in terms of guys on the field and being able to play?
Well, we are as healthy, I think, as we've ever been. Obviously, last year was a uniquely different. We had a lot of really season-ending injuries that happened in camp, and then even following into the first game. Knock on wood, but we came out of camp with maybe an ankle, maybe a wrist, a groin here or there, but nothing severe, nothing that we think is going to cost them games or even a season. So I think we've done a fine job of obviously limiting even the soft tissue thing, but even the bigger issues. So right now, walking in, if we start a practice on Monday, I don't know that there'll be much of anybody even limited. Maybe a guy or two that has some types of limitations, but for the most part, we've got everybody up and rolling.
Coach, I realize you haven't had a ton of time to think about it or look into it yet, but the new eligibility rule, does that change the calculus on how much you might play a guy, especially true freshmen that you might normally redshirt?
No, I think it just opens the door, like where we would have those conversations about, what is this guy? Is this guy a 4-game guy? Is this guy a redshirt guy? Is this guy somebody that can help us, more so at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season? We always for the last 2 years have kind of put a lot of work into that Some guys we worked early, some guys we held and said, hey, this guy at the end of the season could be, a great asset for us. The Arquan Bush kind of thing, where we knew he wasn't ready at 165 pounds early in the season. We said, but, by middle of the season to the end of the season, this kid's got a lot of ability and he could really help us. And it worked that way. He started the last couple of games his freshman year and still got a red shirt. So with what they've got now, I don't think it's going to take a lot of the calculations off of our plate. A lot of the conversations and meetings that we had to have about, when do we use this guy? Do we use this guy? How do we use this guy? I think it just opens it up to say, hey, we're not limited by anything other than, what especially the young guys can handle.
Coach, I was accused last night by an unnamed source of being a black cat truther because I said the defense was good in the scrimmage. From what I've heard, was it a good day, Saturday or Friday, excuse me, for the defense, especially the defensive line?
I think so. I think they did a good job. I think, everybody would say, well, the first scrimmage, they didn't do us good. You're right. I think maybe obviously the offense maybe got the best of them in that first scrimmage. The depth coming back for what we got up front and what we had at the end of camp, with Jabari coming back and Elijah Ponder and a lot of those things. I mean, it gives us a lot of depth in the defensive line. You're out there even Friday rolling with the twos, and you got Malik Van and you got some Curtis Brooks, you got Marcus Brown, and you're in theory saying that's with the twos, when in reality, those are guys who are every bit of 1As or 1Bs. So I think they did a really good job. I think, obviously the pressure that they ended up putting on, I think late in the scrimmage, I think, kind of see a little bit of the wear down maybe would be what I would say where they probably got their, maybe won the line of scrimmage battle in practice 15. I'd say they maybe had a few more guys that had only had about 4 or 5 practices. So maybe a little bit more of the wear out benefited the defense and the defensive line in particular.
How about the quarterback battle, Coach? Was there any separation over these last 4.5 days?
I think, we've got a lot of things to talk about. I think uniquely different in a year like this with all the different things that are going on. You're going to need more than 1, 2, maybe even 3 quarterbacks. Didn't expect that going in. Obviously, we didn't know that this was going to be the situation in 2020. And we really felt like it was going to be a great quarterback battle. And I can tell you that both of them did a phenomenal job. I don't think that if we had any issues this week, if we said, hey, either one of those guys was going to be the starter, I think we'd be in a great position to not just win ball games, but dominate ball games. I think it's going to come down to right now. I think Dez is, still he is his leadership ability and his ability to take command of the offense in everything that we're doing, I think has really grown. And because, yes, he's been focused, because, yes, he's really worked at it, but also because he's been pushed. And where Ben had a really good camp, maybe was a little bit careless with the ball, or maybe had a few more turnovers than Dez did as a whole through the whole camp. Has really a good command of the offense as well. I just think that right now, if you had to start today, the leadership of what Desmond Ridder brings to you in all that we do is really, really good. And I think that's probably what right now is going to be the deciding factor as we roll into the start of the season. But the good news is we still got three weeks or so to kind of even figure out how we want to do this thing and find roles and how we can attack it. And more than anything, just some way, somehow be a really dynamic offense.
With the running backs, there seem to be 3 guys who are vying, for the majority of the snaps. Can you describe some of what Dokes, McClellan, and Ford bring and how they're kind of different?
Well, I would say that Dokes and Ford are a little bit more similar. Like they're the bigger, more physical guys. Obviously, we know Jared Dokes a lot better. As a redshirt freshman, our first year here, I think we thought he was probably one of the most talented guys we had on offense, and what he was going to come back to second year. And so we've known a lot about Jared Dokes. Obviously, he's had injuries and things like that, so we've got the utmost confidence in not just him as a ball carrier, but him as a protector and him as a leader. So obviously, that always gives the guy the nod or a little bit more of a leg up. We didn't do a lot of live situations the only live situation scrimmage we did, Jerome Ford really showed up. And I think you're kind of sitting here saying, whoa, I think you got two guys that do what it is that you want to do, big physical backs. We know more about Jared just because he's been here. We don't know as much about Jerome other than, what we've seen and what he's done in a little bit of the live situations, but what also he's done in just the thud situations. And I think we've got two really good backs that can do everything we ask them to do, be physical, be downhill, protect, be receivers out of the backfield. That are very similar. And then I think you had Charles McClellan in there that gives you a little bit of a different dynamic. I would have said early in camp, Chuck didn't have a ton of flash plays. He just, I don't know, he maybe coming back a little bit. He was just, still a little bit, maybe hesitant. I don't know if that's the right word to say. Chuck has gotten a lot better in his receiving with his hands and things like that. And we asked our backs to do a bunch of that. And so maybe he just didn't make as many plays as other guys. But this last scrimmage, all of a sudden you saw some of the flashes of Chuck, taking a cut back about 45, 50 yards and a really, really good play. And, so we know enough about him that we haven't had to, truly tackle. But I think he's going to give us a little bit of a different dynamic as we kind of get him into the fold as well. And, you're going to need all those guys. We thought we were really deep at the tailback position last year. And then, 2 plays later, you're down darn near to one guy as well. So I think we've got some good depth, but I think we've got some guys that can do some different things as well.
Coach, a couple of weeks ago when the Big Ten and Pac-12 decided to shut it down, I think the general public kind of thought at this point more dominoes would fall. Here we are a week before September. As a coach, and I'm sure you probably don't have the same reaction as everybody in the general public has, but are you surprised? Here we are, just a few weeks out that you guys are still in line to keep playing?
Well, I would not allow myself to even think about the alternative. If they eventually ended up calling us and telling us we were shut down, then I would have addressed it then. But so I'm not surprised, but I was also being somewhat naive. And to say that I'm not worried about it, I'm not thinking about it, I'm not asking about it. I obviously have some communication with some guys in the Pac-12 and guys in the Big Ten. And, I stopped even talking to them because they said it's going to be inevitable. It's just a matter of time. So I stopped talking to them as well. And I think that we still got some stretch to go here to be able to handle and get back to campus and do what we need to do. But I think we're in a really good place. I think that the positive outcry from some of the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have made people realize that football is a risky sport. And there's a lot of things that you got to make decisions on if you're going to play the game of football. And whether it's, some of the things that come up with COVID or it's the health and safety of putting a helmet on and running as full speed into another man, we're willing as individuals to know that there are some risks involved in the things that we're doing. And I think the positive kind of tone from what's come from the Big Ten and hearing about the players that want to play has helped us along the way here to say, look, let's continue to push this thing with the leagues that are in here right now. And as long as we feel like we're in a good place and still can manage, not nobody getting it, but manage the spread of what's going on and keep these guys in great health care, meaning not that they don't get it, but that they're monitored and they're taken care of better than anybody else on any college campus. I don't see how we can't continue to move forward. Is there going to be some interruptions? Is there going to be some pauses? Is there going to be some games? Maybe. But I think for the greater picture of it, I think that we've got a really good plan. I think there's a positive, kind of sentiment out there about making sure these guys have the right to make some of those decisions, and hope we can continue to move forward.
How aware are you that you're the only major college football team in Ohio that is still in line to play? It's almost like you're Ohio's college football team this year.
I don't think that's what's driving us, but I surely I surely know what's going on, and I know what this could mean, not just for our football program, but for a lot of things that we want to do. That's not the driving force. But nonetheless, it's about these 18 to 22-year-olds and their opportunities and our opportunities as a program and as a team. But I do believe that, us continue to do what we're supposed to do can really help us out sorry about that. It can help us out in where we're going with the whole program.
Are you getting some bandwagon fans from back home in Columbus?
I've got a few. You know, they'll continue to grow. Let's just say that they're football enthusiasts, and no matter what, they want to see the game played, and that's all right by me. You know, so that's all right by me. We do a darn good job, and we can not just make them bandwagons, but we can keep them as well.
With Wiggins back, are you seeing that versatility that he gave you guys, especially 2 years ago, not just in the secondary, but for the entire defense?
I am. I mean, he does, and you know the same thing with Wiggins is I'm always on him about is not to get bored. He's back to being who he is and knowing and having the confidence in what he's doing. Now we got to keep him engaged and not keep getting bored being, you know, just really good. You know, we got to try to challenge him to push him to the next level to be great, to give him that chance to, you know, what I believe be, you know, a first couple round pick. And I really do believe he could be that. But he's going to have to continue to prove it. He's going to have to continue to do the little things, and he's going to have to continue to push himself because he's so talented that at times he does get bored, you know, maybe not being challenged sometimes as much.
Have you seen that Spielman's the one that's been the most adamant about adopting UC as Ohio's football team this year? He's been all over Twitter with it.
I know he's a great guy. He'll jump the bandwagon. Now he's probably one of the only guys that's outside of me and maybe a former player here that spoke to our team. So we kind of got him, you know, one time involved a little bit a few years ago, and you know he always stays in pretty good contact. But now he's being a lot more vocal and public about it. I love it. You know, there's nobody that's a greater advocate for the game of football and what it has done for him as a whole. You know, and I think all things like that are going to be, you know, great opportunities for us as a program. I don't know if our kids actually understand the ramifications and the things that we can do with not just within our community, but within our entire state. You know, but I do. I hope our program understands that. And, you know, no matter what, you know, I tell them all the time, if you're a great leader, you leave a place in a better position than when you got it. And if our seniors can continue to lead this thing in the right way, meaning continue to keep us in a good place where we can continue to play, we know we'll be a good football team, but where they'll leave this program in the grand scheme of things of you know, just the fan base and the attention will be far greater than anything that they've been given.
A lot of talk coming into camp was linebacker, replacing Perry, replacing Brian. Through 2.5 weeks of seeing that every day, how are you feeling about the linebacker position?
You know what? I'm feeling much better. You know, we missed Jarrell there for a little while in camp, which kind of was a little bit difficult, but it gave, you know, Pace and some other guys some opportunities to play a lot of football. But it also gave Joel DeBlanco a chance to kind of step up and, you know, take the reins a little bit in the middle. You know, Huber and you know, Darren Beavers. But I think what we've got is different than what we had last year. And I mean that in a sense that I think you'll see a lot more variety of guys. I think you'll see both Beavers and Brody Engel both playing, where Perry Young took 95% of the snaps last year. I think you'll see Joel DeBlanco as well as Wilson Huber. I'm not saying 50-50, but you'll see a lot more guys and a lot more rotation. Jarrell won't be as much of a rotation, but I think that with Ty Van Fossen and then emergence of a little bit of, Deshaun Pace, I think you'll see some more guys. So I wouldn't go on a limb and say, hey, we're going to be better at linebacker. I think we can be more productive. I think we can, in the long run, be better because of the depth that we've got and the amount of people that will be able to play. But it's still, that's the one spot that we still got to see live action guys make real tackles and be able to handle some adversity.
Any more questions, gang? All right. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday.
From Jim?
Yes.
Jim, I saw you at practice that one day. I didn't get a chance to visit with you. You got anything?
Nope. Just there for a little bit. Yep.
All right.
You got like a camera crew in there, Jim? Multiple angles?
I do. Got a couple. Actually, I don't have audio on my laptop, so I've got my phone and the laptop going. So.
All right.
Thanks, guys,
All
for
good.
joining us
All
on
right.
Sunday. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Coach.
Thanks, guys.
See you. Bye.